Hello everybody, Jordon Lawrenz here for this post-game recap, and boy am I fired up today. The Brewers are now 69-52 after salvaging a series tie against the Dodgers. Let's get into it right now. What a game. I mean, I can't even express how happy I am to be a Brewers fan at points in time like this, because it wasn't looking good at the start of things. I mean, when you look at this game with the Dodgers, and it was not looking good because these first two games in the series, they just weren't what Brewers fans expected. They were not good. It didn't go the Brewers' way, and it always just seems to be the Dodgers always have the best of us. And it's frustrating because we know we're a better team than that. And it's just time and time again, LA always has our number, and it goes back to 2018, and it's been like this for who knows how long now. I mean, the Brewers just haven't been able to get over that hump. They haven't won a playoff series in years. Then it's really just been since that Dodgers series. So to have these games in Milwaukee, you lose the first two by a combined score of 12-4. Then you come back yesterday, get that big 5-4 win after being down by 3 runs in the first inning. Remember, the Dodgers said the bases loaded. Brewers couldn't answer. But we're not talking about yesterday. We're talking about today. It was a 6-4 Brewers win. Devin Williams, didn't think we were going to need him. Things weren't looking too good for a minute after the Dodgers started coming back, but then, oh boy, did things look a whole lot better in that 8th inning. We got a lot to talk about today. As you see, I got 3 points listed out here that we're going to get into, and it all starts, obviously, with the first inning for the Brewers. So, no problem for Tobias Myers. This was one of the big talking points coming into the game. Was Tobias Myers, he struggles in the first inning. His ERA is higher in the first inning. He's got more of a pitch count in inning number 1. But today, not so much at all. I mean, they talked about it, BA, he mentioned on the broadcast, not a single Dodgers player has ever faced Tobias Myers, which I think is an insane statistic. And that is something very crazy to just be throwing out there. But it's true because you've got Myers. I mean, he's 26 years old, right? But he's a rookie. He hasn't been in this, and it's just, I don't know. I think we've been looking for the ace. The Brewers fans have been looking for their first ace since the loss of Corbin Burnes. But what Myers has done this year is just truly incredible. In his last outing, he got the win, going 7 1/3. He's gone 8 innings on multiple occasions this year. He went 8 innings against the Tigers in a 10-0 win and 8 innings in a 9-0 win against the Pirates. So overall, Tobias Myers, I mean, he came in and he threw some of his best stuff. He wasn't perfect in this game. There's obviously no questions he wasn't perfect, but yes, he absolutely did enough. 93 pitched inning in the bottom half. So Myers did his thing. 12 pitches in inning number 1. Yes, 12 of those 93 came in the first inning, which is a great number as he went 5 2/3 in this game. It was a nice, quick, efficient first inning for Myers, and then the Brewers got things going. It was a pair of home runs, and I mean, who else to start the train? You've got the Brewers and Jackson Chourio. He did everything he could to get the Brewers on top in not only the start of this game, but the end of the game as well. As you know, we'll get into that. But it all started with Bryce Terang. You really can't miss what he did to start the game with that leadoff double. Chourio gets him home with a home run, and then Contreras with a... Overall, it's 3-0 on 3 hits in the first inning, and then things got very stale for the Brewers. It took quite a while for them to get their offense going, but I did want to mention there was a statistic I found coming into the game with Contreras compared to Ohtani, and I think it was very interesting. Everyone knows what Shohei Ohtani has done, what he's able to do, everything like that. He has 15 more home runs than Wilson Contreras, on the year. But one of the big things here, Ohtani had 137 hits coming into this game. William Contreras, 131 hits coming into this game. So only 6 less hits for the catcher compared to the superstar designated hitter Ohtani, who hasn't been pitching this year, as we know. But I just think that's an incredible mark for Contreras to be at, especially compared to someone who is already what people are saying a first ballot Hall of Famer compared to what he's been able to do. So I know that's just a random little statistic thrown out there, but still, very big deal at the end of the day for Contreras to be hanging in there with the likes of Ohtani, and for him to get a solo shot right out of the gate here in the bottom half of the first inning. So it was 3-0 Brewers at this point in time. The Brewers were doing some very good things offensively, but then defensively, things got a little rough. So you get to that 3-run first, you get through that 3-run first inning, then you get to the second inning, and it's not looking as good. So Tobias Myers, of the runs he gave up, not all of them were earned, and that kind of gets me into the next point, as you see here. But one of the big keys is, of the 4 runs he gave up, only 2 of which are earned. There was a pair of plays that happened in the top half of the second that just kind of proved that this Brewers defense was still a little bit all over the place. They only had 1 error in this game, but we know their defense hasn't played the best against the Dodgers so far this series. In yesterday's game, the Brewers, their defense, and just everything that happened in that game was all over the place. There was 4 errors. The Brewers only had 1 error yesterday, but again, they had an error today as well. In the losses, the Brewers did not have any errors in that game. So it's just one of those things where you look at it, but you still have to worry because the defense is slipping up a little bit and that can't happen as you get later in the year, because I thought for a while that these runs were going to cost us the game. I know we were still up 3-2, but when you have a team like the Dodgers, you can't let them get back into games. It's just you cannot do it. You cannot let it happen, and it happened on back-to-back things. So Joey Ortiz, he tried to make a really good throw from third to first. He wasn't able to do it. Oh well, the ball gets by Hoskins, but the runner only stayed at first for LA. So not the end of the world, as that wasn't considered an error, obviously. It was just a throw that just couldn't quite make it to first base. He tried for a spectacular throw, wasn't able to get it. Then it's Willy Adames, who has been struggling a bit defensively. Yes, he makes up for it offensively. We'll get into that as we get into that 3-run 8th inning. However, you do have to worry a little bit about Adames yet, because sometimes his throws, it doesn't make sense. Some of the throws he makes, it doesn't make sense. Some of the throws he makes, I don't know what happened in this one especially. Did he just throw it way too hard? Were his feet not set? I don't know what happened where Willy Adames made this into right field instead of being a simple, and I mean very simple and routine double play. I don't know if he rushed it. Again, I don't know what went wrong with this error, but it was a big, costly error for the time being. It was a 2-run second inning for the Dodgers. It could have been worse. His best to run against the wall and make a fantastic catch, but couldn't come up with it at the end of the day. So that's where those 2 runs came in, both of which were unearned, and that is a big thing as Tobias Myers. Again, his ERA is just... Let's go over his numbers real quick, because that was the only little thing I wanted to talk about in terms of Myers, is the errors that went against him, and again, the Adames one, certainly not his fault. 2 runs come in that he had nothing to do with. Has been doing absolutely fantastic. He has a 6-5 record, but what do we care about win-loss records anymore in the MLB? I mean, it's just a statistic that goes all over the place. It depends on your offense, depends on anything, really. So I'm not too concerned at all about a pitcher's win-loss record, especially a guy like this, who he's competing with Jack Flaherty and he's competing with the LA Dodgers. What else can you say about Tobias Myers? I mean, in his first year, he's just done so well. In the month of August specifically now, he's only given up, coming into the game, he had only given up 1 run. So he's only given up 3 runs in his three earned runs in his 3 starts here in the month of August. And again, in that Cincinnati game, he struck out 9 batters. He only gave up 7 hits combined in his first 2 appearances this month. He gave up 8 hits in this one. So crazy, but again, that's the Dodgers way. They're putting together some base hits. They're trying to get on, and oh well, right? Like, you give up 8 hits, but you only give up 2 earned runs, and the Brewers end up winning the game. So it's a no decision for Myers in this one, as his ERA is now at 2.81. He had a strikeout and a walk, giving up, again, 4 total runs, but only 2 of which were earned. And we'll get to that 4th run here coming up, because it was just... I don't know if he should have pitched into the 6th inning. I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not Chris Hook. I'm not Pat Murray. Make those decisions. I think what they did with him was fine. It could have been a lot worse, but Myers made the most of it, and he hasn't thrown a ton of pitches in a game like that this season. You know, he's not throwing 100 pitches a game, so for him to get to 93 was quite impressive. He couldn't get the final out of the 6th inning, which would have given him 6 complete. However, what happened is Elvis Peguero came into the game, and on the first pitch, that run was given up. So it's just, it is what it is at the end of the day. It's kind of nice, I guess, if you're Myers, where obviously you don't want that run counting against you. You don't. But Elvis Peguero, he only threw 5 pitches in this game. He faced 3 batter minimum. And I think it was good strategy, obviously. the Brewers know what they're doing with their pitching, and that's one of the other points here is that locked up bullpen. As you see, I have it lights out bullpen third here on the list. But the Willy Adames error, we're going to get to that too as well. So I did just want to mention the pitching though, because Peguero, he first pitch coming out of the bullpen gives up that run. Forget about it. At that point, the Brewers were losing this game. They were down 4 runs, and they still had 4 chances. Obviously, you've got the bottom of the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th to come back and put up 2 runs to tie, 3 to win. They did it all in the 8th. So it was the 7th inning, though. We're going to talk about the 8th inning, but before we get to the 8th inning, let's talk about the 7th inning, right? Natural progression is just how it works. William Contreras, he ended up having a huge throwout of Hernandez in that top of the 7th inning, trying to steal second with no one out. He's able to throw him out, and that's a big deal. When you have a runner on second base with no one out and already a 1-run lead, that could do a lot of damage, and that extra insurance run could have been huge for the Dodgers, but I really don't know what Hernandez was thinking. It was a wild pitch. It was barely past Contreras to his left. He picked it up, spun around so quick, he threw that boy out, and it was very, very impressive. Again, proving why WC24 is one of, if not the best catchers in the entire Major League Baseball. So, big time move there from Contreras, and you look then to the bottom half of the 7th. I've got notes for days about the bottom of the 7th and the bottom of the 8th, because these 2 innings were just, if you're a Brewers fan, it doesn't get much more of a roller coaster than this, right? You're down by 1 run, just 1 run. That's all you need is 1 against the Dodgers. But again, the Brewers hadn't done much. They finished this game with 7 hits. The majority of their hits came at the very start or at the very end. The middle was empty. The Brewers did not have anything going until they needed to. So let's talk about this 7th inning. Willy Adames, his big thing happened in the 8th, but before we get there, again, let's start in the 7th. So, pinch hitter comes into the game. Jake Bauers, he hadn't done anything in this game. His average is only 207, right? He had 2 at-bats. He wasn't able to get on. So Murphy sends Gary Sanchez out. I believe he'd only made 9 pinch hit plate appearances so far this year, so this would put him at 10. He doesn't get a hit, but guess what he does? The next best thing. Getting on base is all that matters, and that's what he did. He was down 0-2, and then he got an 8-pitch walk. So if you're going to start a new pitcher up, the Brewers were patient against Vesia. They were waiting and waiting and waiting until they weren't. I really don't understand what happened eventually as we get later in this inning, but it was a 27-pitch inning for Vesia, and the Brewers made him work for it. 8 of those 27 pitches to start things off. Who was immediately taken off first? Tyler Black comes in to be the pinch runner. He didn't have to do anything, but he did something in the next inning. So all of this is going to work out for the Brewers, obviously, with their 6-4 win. Now 69 wins on the year for the Crew as the Dodgers fall to 71-51. So after Gary Sanchez gets that walk, Rhys Hoskins comes up. On 4 pitches, he walks. The patience again shines through for the Brewers. They're not doing anything. They're standing there. They're waiting for Vesia to throw strikes. He couldn't throw them, so Hoskins is going to take his base. You got Black on second. You got Hoskins on first. Now, Sal Frelick comes up in the 8 hole. What do you think Sal Frelick's going to do? He's going to bunt, right? He teases. He has it out to bunt. He pulls it back. First pitch swinging, and I am in no way Sal Frelick. I am in no way in his position. But if you're going to tease bunt, you better make sure that if you're pulling back, you're going to swing on a good first pitch. If you're going to throw off the defense, you can't pop it up into an infield fly. That absolutely cannot happen. Frelick was hitless on the day, and that was a tough one to watch because it's those little errors against good teams that in October, when these games matter and every single at-bat could have an impact on the game, that's one of those at-bats where you're going to look back and say, why did I swing at that? Or why didn't I bunt? Obviously, the plan was for him to pull back on the bunt. There's no doubt he wasn't bunting. He was just trying to get the infield in to poke a base hit through to get Black to score, but he didn't do that, and that's the problem, is Frelick popped it up into the infield fly. Oh, well, you shake it off. There's still runners on first and second. There's only one out, and then, I don't know. If the Brewers would have lost this game, this would have been a big discussion. Is when Joey Ortiz, the 9-hitter, comes up to bat. He's got a 3-1 count, hitters count, very, very, very close, but definitely a ball to make it 4-1. Would have loaded the bases with 1 out. Home plate umpire calls it a strike. So the count goes full. Ortiz, he's got to chase a pitch, and he flies out. I mean, again, that's one of those pitches where if this is a 4-3 loss for the Brewers, we're going back to the bottom of the 7th for that pitch. But we don't have to here. However, I did want to mention it because it was a borderline call, and I know some Brewers fans were quite upset about it. But if it's that close, it wasn't like completely outside of the zone. It wasn't way up high or way down low. It was just above. It was definitely above the belly button, no doubt about it. But those high fastballs were called for Myers in the first inning. So if there's one thing you want from an umpire, it's consistency, and we did get that. So you can't really complain too much as the Brewers ended up, it all worked out. However, that was it. Terang, he ended up working a 3-2 count, and Vesia, his finally 27-pitch inning, comes to an end. Full count, but then chases, and that's it, and the Brewers put up a 0 in that, and I was just looking at Vesia's numbers here. He hasn't thrown 27 pitches since the 19th of July, where he the Red Sox. He only faced 4 batters and threw 30 pitches. He got 3 strikeouts. What is happening? If you're going to strike out batters, your pitch count's going to go up, and it certainly did in that Red Sox game. But back to the Brewers here, on to the 8th inning, and pull these notes out here because this is where things got good. The bottom half of the 8th inning, Jackson Chourio, and this is, BA said it on the call. He said the Dodgers, they've got 3 guys they trust to close out games. Daniel Hudson, he has 9 saves on the year. He came in the 8th inning, which is very interesting because the Dodgers are thinking, hey, we're going to put him to sleep in the 8th and then hopefully in the 9th, depending on how many pitches Hudson has. Either he can continue or we'll throw out one of our other 2 closers. But Hudson ends up taking the loss in this game. And if you look at his game log, he's only pitching 1 inning. So he's never pitched 2 this year. I'm scrolling all the way back, and not once has he pitched in 2 innings. He's pitched less than an inning, but not once has he pitched in 2 innings this year. So clearly Hudson was used as the setup man in this scenario, and it backfired. He didn't even pitch the full inning. 3 runs given up, all 3 earned on 3 hits, and the Brewers, they just took advantage of them. Again, it was a double on the 2nd pitch. Chourio, 2 for 4 today with 2 RBIs. He has his average up to 274. This kid is special. We can talk about him time and time again, about all the great things he's done and everything he adds to this team and how much of a steal. I mean, the Brewers, they got a good one for the next few years with Chourio, and they locked him up before he ever played in the big leagues, but boy, did it work out. He gets his double. Garrett Mitchell, you talk about the patience from the 7th that disappeared after the first out in the 7th. The patience come back. Garrett Mitchell, he's got a run in this game that comes here, but it was all because of a walk. He didn't have a hit in the game, and he was behind 1-2 in the count, ends up working a walk. So Hudson, that was his own walk of the game, but Garrett Mitchell was able to work that, and that was a big time walk to get runners on first and second with no one out to bring up Contreras, the cleanup guy who got his 2nd hit of the game. It was off Hudson's leg, not the first time we saw that in this game, but it was just so good to see the Brewers finally getting some luck, anything to go their way, because every little thing, not just in the Dodgers series, but feels like all year long, every single time the Brewers have had anything close or anything that they just need one little bit of luck, they can't get it. We know how many close games they've won, but it hasn't been because of luck. That's for sure, as they're now 35-24 at home this season. The bases were loaded. Willy Adames makes up for that error in the 2nd inning. He gets his lone hit and RBI of the game. He had 2 strikeouts coming into it. He was 0 for 3 with 2 Ks, but he's still hitting .251. And a big stat they mentioned, 7th inning or later is really where Willie shines. He was hitting .290. That average will go up now with another base hit, maybe .293, .294. I'm not sure how many at-bats he's had in past the 7th inning. You got to assume it's quite a few, obviously, with all these games played. But yeah, really good stuff by Adames, tying it up 4-4. Tyler Black, who, again, he didn't hit when he came in the 7th inning. He was just that pinch runner for Gary Sanchez. So Tyler Black comes in. He's hitting less than .200 this year, but you know what he did here? got an RBI ground out, which is all you can ask for because first pitch swinging, hey, you're going to hit a little ground ball. Garrett Mitchell, talk about the speed of this guy because he was flying from third to home, got a great jump, and wasn't able to make a play at third base. It was Kike Hernandez, so he had to throw it over to first, and the throw wasn't in time. You get the out, but you give up the run. So the Brewers had a 5-4 lead, and then Rhys Hoskins expands on that lead. He got his RBI in this game. It was another one that was off Hudson's leg. He kind of kicked it. I wish I could show you with my camera what he did, but he got his foot up and he basically kicked it back to Hernandez over at third, which I guess worked out. But if that ball goes to Lux at second, I feel like they would have had a shot to throw him out at home. But if you're a Brewers fan, you are not arguing Hudson's decision to kick that ball. Maybe it was just a reaction. I don't know. But he ended up Hoskins being out, but back-to-back RBI groundouts puts the Brewers on top 6-4, and then the Dodgers are like, it's over. After that, Hudson is pulled, and then coming in for just one single pitch, which was a strike, is Anthony Banda. So he's only got one save on the year. Obviously, he wasn't coming in for any scenario like that, but Dodgers put him in this game, and on one pitch, he's able to retire the Brewers and make it out to the ninth inning. Brewers are up 6-4. Who do you look for? What do you think is going to happen in this scenario? Was Devin Williams ever going to come into this game is the real question. When you have the Brewers losing 4-3, Williams is obviously sitting because he hasn't played in back-to-back games all year. Coming off the injury, which took longer than expected, you've got to look at Williams and say, hey, we need this guy. We can't risk it can happen. And what? Nothing happened. Devin Williams comes into the game and he's able to strike out not only Mookie Betts, who came in to pinch hit. We thought it was going to be an off day for Mookie, but the Dodgers, they wanted to win this game. They wanted to make their mark, so Betts comes in to pinch hit in the 9-hole. He comes in, strikes out. Devin Williams is able to strike out Mookie Betts on 7 pitches. Changeup, fastball, changeup. So that strikeout swinging came to Mookie Betts on the lower part of it at 85 miles an hour was the airbender. And then Shohei Ohtani. How many pitches did it take to get him out? 7 as well. We know yesterday Devin Williams struck out the top 3 in the Dodgers lineup in 7 pitches. It took 7 pitches this time to strike out Betts. It took 7 to strike out Ohtani. But look at what Devin Williams did. He threw 5 straight fastballs to Ohtani, then fooled him with the changeup, which Ohtani was able to foul off, and he hit that ball hard down the right field line, and it was a high fastball at 95 miles an hour for Devin Williams to be able to work his way through into his 3rd save of the year. So let's go back to yesterday just to get an idea of what Devin Williams was throwing against these guys. Again, in the 9th inning in the 5-4 win. Ohtani saw a changeup and a 4-seamer, and that 4-seamer was the flyout, and then he got Mookie Betts out on 3 pitches, all of which were 94-mile-an-hour fastballs through 2 to the outside, I should say, and then 1 up and out. But that's it for the Brewers. Their bullpen has been spectacular in these past 2 games. They've showed up when they needed to. And obviously today in a game like this, when the Brewers are up 3-0, you're like, yes, we're finally going to get one. We're finally getting a nice, easy day against the Dodgers. But you can never, ever rely on one of those to happen. So it is what it is at the end of the day. The Brewers had to work for it. They end up giving up 10 hits, only 7 hits for the crew themselves. But the 6-4 final score is all that matters. And it's a big win for the Brewers because every single other team in the Central was off today. The Reds, the Cardinals, the Cubs, the Pirates, none of them played today. So the Brewers, this was a big win for them as they were able to move their way up another half a game in the standings. They are now 9 games above the 60-61 Reds and the 60-61 Cardinals. 69-52 are the Brewers. They are, again, 35 wins at home, 34 on the road. They've won 2 straight. And I think it was one of the crazy things now is they're 7-3 in their last 10, and 3 losses came on the 11th, 12th, and 13th. The Brewers are the only team in baseball to not drop 4 straight. Sure, they lost the season series against the Dodgers, but they salvaged the series tie, dropping the first 2, winning the last 2, and now they've got 3 against the Guardians before getting a day off, and then they will be at St. Louis for a big series against the Cardinals. You're looking at a Cardinals team that is trying to fight for this division. They're trying to make their way up and try and get a little bit closer to the Crew, and then just a few series later, they will be the Brewers will be in Cincinnati playing the Reds on the 30th, 31st, and heading into September. How crazy is that to say, on the 1st, before another 3-game series against the Cardinals, this one at home on September 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So that's it, guys. The Brewers are able to take down the Dodgers 6-4 here today. It comes on a beautiful first inning, almost beautiful 7th inning, but then a fantastic 8th inning. It's just great to see the Brewers are able to win games like this. They've been in contention for close games all year long, but to pull out a close game win over the Dodgers, that's big time, and wins like this are a huge boost to morale, huge boost to everything in the locker room. I know they had the Stanley Cup in the locker room yesterday. Who knows if that had anything to do with anything, but a little bit of good luck never hurts, because like I said, the Brewers just haven't had luck go their way. They're winning these games off of skill, strategy, and everything in between, with so many injuries after having lost Devin Williams for so long in this year. So many other guys have had to step up, but now Williams has competed in back-to-back games for the first time this year, and he deserves a day or 2 off at the very least as he moves forward to this Guardians series. So yeah, that does it, guys. A huge win for the Brewers. What a win. What a series. It was a roller coaster to say the least, but now this little homestand ends against the Guardians with 2 night games and then an afternoon game on Sunday. Thanks for watching, everyone. We will be back. I will be back on Sunday for a Packers preseason recap as we see what happens on Sunday night football for the Packers. Their preseason ball. Packers already 1-0, looking to improve on that as the Brewers again improve to 7-3 in their last 10. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next time.